back towards the property, and they realized at some point there are two distinct sets of footprints. There were two people out here, and even worse is they followed them all the way up to the house, and there were two different circles of footprints that stopped right underneath the living room window along the two flanks of the window where the sheet was not covered, which means over the course of the night when Evan and his cousin were up at that window looking out, there's a good chance that one or two strangers were tucked up against the side of the house, and they would not have seen them because of the angle out of the living room window. It was steep because of the stilts it was on, and so anybody that was tucked up along the side, they'd be in a blind spot. And then for sure, after Evan and his cousin got back into bed and were sleeping, there were two strangers who were right up against those windows, probably pulling themselves up to look inside. When Evan's father found these footprints, he immediately grabbed his gun and tried to follow them back into the woods to see where they came from, but unfortunately the snow cover wasn't complete, and at some point they lost the tracks, and they never figured out who those two people were. Evan would say, following this event, his cousin refused to ever come back over his house for a sleepover.
It's for those who do and want to keep doing it. Right. Real energy.
In October 2005, a 21-year-old named Nathan was back home in Elk Grove, California, visiting his mother at her apartment for a couple of days. Her apartment was part of this really safe complex. It was gated, there's lots of lights and cameras, so anything that went bump in the night was just going to be, your noisy neighbors or something. On the last night of Nathan's stay, he was laying in his bed in the guest room, listening to the hum of the street lamp that was outside, and the crickets and the passing by of cars when he drifted off to sleep. At about 2 a.m., Nathan woke up, or so he thought. He couldn't move his body, he could only move his eyes, and even though he had never experienced sleep paralysis before, he instinctively understood this is probably that. He noticed the room was completely silent. There was no more crickets, no more hum of the light outside, no more traffic, just total silence. And he started flashing his eyes around the room because he couldn't move his head or his body, and he started taking stock of the room. The bed he was in was positioned as far away from the door as he could in the back right corner. From where he was laying, if you looked to his right, in that corner was this big armoire, and then moving left from the armoire as he scanned the room, you come to the door, which is on the opposite side of where his bed was, and then if he kept scanning left, he would reach the foot of his bed, and just beyond the foot of his bed was a table and a chair. But because he was laying flat, he couldn't really look down and actually see the table and chair. And so with all of his strength, he managed to raise his head just enough that he had a line of sight to that section of his room, the only section he has not looked at yet. And he sees the table and chair, and he sees in the corner is this dark figure that's standing there looking at him. He's completely frozen with fear. His thought is, there's an intruder in the house. How did they get in here? What are they doing in here? And he managed to keep his head up just long enough to get a decent look at this dark figure, and he determined it was most likely a woman with a shawl covering her face. And before his head fell back to the pillow, he saw her suddenly crouch down on the ground out of view. And then Nathan's head fell back, and now he knows there's just some stranger in his room, and he can't lift his head up anymore. He's looking around with his eyes. He sees the armoire, he sees the door, he can't see that table and chair, and then he hears the sound of someone slithering along the ground out of view. And he can hear her breathing as she's getting closer and closer to the edge of the bed. And he's laying there terrified. He's so scared he can't even make a sound, and he's telling himself this has to be a dream. Wake up, wake up, wake up. And he's laying there, and this woman, she stands up and she leans out over his bed.
Hi. Hey man, how are you? How are you doing? I'm just streaming right now, you know, just trying to get some, didn't really expect anyone to really tune in. So yeah, energy levels are going to be pretty down because I'm on my last few. It's about 3 o'clock as you can see. So yeah, I'm just trying to get good at this. Let's see. How are you, by the way? I hope this is clear. I didn't expect anyone to tune in at this hour, to be honest, so okay. The growth hub will always tune in. I appreciate it, man. I have not I've not looked into the growth hub for some time because I was like super occupied with stuff generally. So, but yes, I will definitely take a look. Wait, don't mind this. How do I get? It's clear. Yes, this is CapCut. It's clear. I'm alright. It's 11:30. Damn. It's like 3 a.m. here. Sorry. Wait. I think I could align this here. I think I'm supposed to have another layer of this and align that door. Is it? Oh no, that's not visible at all. Okay, well, I think I should probably, is this a pro version? No, this is like the base one, because it says like you're supposed to pay for it pretty much. I'm trying to see what's the like option to like get the stuff back, because I had the text stuff like properly binded. I think I'm supposed to like inverse this or something, because I'm trying to get that feature where it's like import your video layer twice, right? So text on in between those two layers, right? Also on YouTube, why I'm using Streamlabs. This is like my whole setup here. It's pretty good for like the Control Z. Yeah, but what's happening here is like I need to. Yeah, but the thing is, okay, so I need to do this again pretty much. So I need to grab these two. I need to place the where is it? I possibly need to place like another layer in the middle, something like this. Where is it?
Parties. Don't forget this.
Okay, well, this is awesome, and we put that in the middle, at the very center, and then in between those two video layers, and on top of the layer use a mask or keyframe cutout. So I think on the top layer, okay, so your mask, then you do text, I believe. I don't know how that's supposed to work. Wait, oh, right. Okay, so you could you continually hide parts of the video so the text and then the subject shows over the text. Right, okay, so how do I, okay, yeah, it did hide that, so but it's not visible at all. Take care, Willow. I have husbandly duties to see you, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is like the energy levels are not there, but I appreciate that you tune in, man. No worries. Husbandly duties. I cannot relate to that. So yeah, thank you so much for coming by. Apologies about the energy levels, and yeah, thank you so much. I'm trying to see how I can get this to work. Tedious, but works well with for objects other than people. Right. Freeze frame mask. Right, okay. Rotoscoping, interesting. Where is that supposed to be? Rotoscoping. I don't have that. I think I might have to. Yeah, the text is not visible, so that's not good. Yep, it's not visible at all. I can kind of see it now, but it's like, okay, so I'm going to try with a different background here, because obviously this is not, okay, there we go. So I kind of see it now, something like this, but it just doesn't look that good. So it's probably because the video itself is, yeah, it's okay, it's a frozen video, that's why. So let's say blend. So you can obviously see it, so that's pretty good. So you can see it, but this clip is once again a frozen clip. So if I, there we go. So of course you can see it now, it's working, so that's pretty good.
How to add sweetness to your life?
Okay, so we'll add that right here.
Add sweetness to your life? When you want to snack or prepare for the holiday parties, don't forget this cookie for you and your family. They are so delicious.
Alright, so we'll split that here, and we'll add a transition, which is, add that right there. Okay, so I need to go to the transition settings. I'm not too sure where that is. Okay, well, transition settings. Okay, well, this is quite the experience.
Your life? When you want to snack or prepare for the holiday parties, don't. Your life? When you.
The heck? To do like a pull in. Just like super slow. There we go. You can't quite see it because it's black, but we could see it if I replace this part with. There we go. So now it's kind of like sitting there. So that's pretty good. Cool. So captions and stuff are pretty simple. Effects, we could add this one. Boom, it looks pretty nice. And just like that, it looks pretty good. Pro, and yeah, we could even try 8K, which is possible. Look at that. So this is what it looks like with 4K. So what it looks like with 8K. Looks pretty good. Backlight fix. What if I just do backlight fix first, and then do 8K? Cool. Oh, it looks awful. Alright, so we're gonna add transitions. We're going to use a few transitions here. Okay, so you do need one more clip. So I'm going to use this tool and do a camera glow. And then we'll make a transition here. Boom, just like that. So it's not a huge deal. So of course this is not much. So we could add like, so yeah, these are the, and we could add like, then we'll get rid of that. Boom, like that. So it's not difficult, honestly. Very, very easy stuff. Can even add like one of these if we need it. So there's a bunch. I don't know who would add this here, but clearly I do, so we'll add this here as well. Why not? But yeah, seems pretty good. We can add like some music as well.
Let's go.
Really? Really? Is that really the music we're gonna go with? Yeah, we can. There's a bunch of different templates here, so that's pretty good. Adjustment. What's this? Let's see what this looks like.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, well, we have a pretty good template here. I mean, not template really, but it's nice, pretty decent.
Okay, let's.
Okay, we'll just do this. Oops. I think I'll have to like lock these low key. Yeah, I have to lock these and then do something there. Oh wow, AI characters. Okay, well. Anyways, AI stylize, you know the drill from here. Could do it, yeah, you could do it like that. Yep, that's it for now. I'm just gonna go to sleep at this point. We know these combos low-key. It's not that difficult. Could I like maybe
Go.
I have added music, so I know what he's talking about. Okay.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, well, we can cut it here. We can fade it out like that. Or we can even add a fade out here. I'm too lazy for that. I'm gonna try exporting this and see. Okay. Export. Oh man. Pro features. Yikes. Well, it was fun. It was fun until it lasted, so that's good. That's the way we look like on TikTok.
Okay, let's go.
Instagram Reels, it's pretty good, pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool. And I'm not good at it yet, but it's fine. I'm gonna try something here.
And she looks at him, and her face is pale, and her eyes are sunk way back in her head. Then she begins to slowly crawl on top of him. And Nathan's sitting here looking at this woman. He wants to close his eyes, but he can't. And he just feels his chest being pressed down. He can hear the sounds of the springs compressing all around him as this woman positions herself on his chest. And then he finally manages to let out a scream, and then suddenly he's awake. The woman's gone. He sits up, and he's looking around. There's nobody in his room. The familiar hum of the light and the crickets and the traffic outside, they all return. And his mom comes running in the room, and she's like, "Hey, are you okay? I heard screaming in here." He said, "Oh, no, I had a bad dream. I'm fine now. I had a terrible dream, but I'm fine now." And his mom's like, "Okay, all right, you need anything?" And he's like, "Nope." So she comes over, she gives him a hug and a kiss. She goes back to bed, and he would go downstairs, flip on a Disney movie, actually Aladdin, and he would fall asleep with a Disney movie on and with lights on. And there was no more sleep paralysis that night. The next day, Nathan got up and headed back to his house, and he couldn't shake the experience. He had never had sleep paralysis before, but it was just so much more terrifying than he ever would have imagined. And he's just thinking to himself, I can't believe there are people that put up with this on any sort of regular basis. But after a couple of days and getting home and not experiencing any sleep paralysis, time went on, and he just kind of forgot about it. A few months later, in March of 2006, Nathan is at this big family party in Chico, California, big outdoor barbecue, all of his family's there, and at some point his sister shows up. His sister was not supposed to be attending this party, so it was a great surprise. He hasn't seen her in a while, and he immediately pulls her aside to catch up with her. And so for the first hour of their conversation, they're just chatting about their lives and what they're up to. Towards the end of their conversation, Nathan suddenly felt compelled to share his sleep paralysis experience with his sister. And the reason he wanted to was because he knew that she knew that he was actually a skeptic. And so she would believe him. If he's telling her this is what happened, she would believe that that's what he saw. And so he starts by saying, I had the weirdest experience at Mom's apartment just a couple of months ago. I'm pretty sure it was sleep paralysis. And his sister immediately butts in and she goes, "Wait a minute. I had sleep paralysis for the first time in my life 2 weeks ago at Mom's apartment. It was horrible. I was in the guest room and I saw this woman and she was like standing on me. I thought I was gonna die. It was horrible." That's exactly what happened to me. I was laying in the guest room and I couldn't move, and I saw a woman in the corner and she stood on my chest. They proceeded to go over all the details of each of their stories, and they discovered that they had almost the exact same experience. And at the end of it, they wanted to have a rational explanation for how they both could just somehow have their only sleep paralysis experience in the same room in roughly the same timeline and experience the exact same events. They were trying to come up with a rational explanation for that, but it was just too much of a coincidence. But ultimately, neither of them were really prepared to start discussing what else it could be. So they decided to just kind of laugh it off and say, "Man, that's pretty weird," and they moved on. After the party was over, Nathan would go back to his house and he would tell his wife about this crazy coincidence he and his sister had, and his wife would say, "Yeah, that's wild." But after that, Nathan just did not want to think about it or talk about it, and so he kind of just pushed it out of his mental space and did forget about it. He moved on. 5 months later, in August of 2006, Nathan's mom would move out of that apartment building and she would move into a 2-story house still in Elk Grove, California. Shortly after she moved in, she asked Nathan if he would come spend a couple nights with her, and Nathan said sure. In order to better understand what happens to Nathan over the course of his stay at his mother's new house, you need to understand a basic layout of her house. So when you walk through her double doors, to your left is going to be a formal living room. In the center of the house is a hallway that shoots straight back to the kitchen, and then to your right when you walk in, there's a wall, and on that wall is the stairs leading up to the second floor. If you take those stairs to the second floor, you reach a landing with a window that's back in the yard, and immediately to your right there's a single door, and that's the master bedroom where Nathan obviously. From the landing, if you turn left, there's another door that's a mirror image of the master bedroom door, and this door is the guest room. That's where Nathan was going to stay. And then to the left was the hall that went to the house, but that's irrelevant to the story. If you went inside the guest room,
video. So
bed was located in the back right corner, so the same layout as the guest room in the apartment building, where the person laying in the bed, so Nathan, his feet would be closest to the door. And from Nathan's perspective in the bed, the only other piece of furniture in this new house guest room was a table that was, from his perspective, on the right-hand wall, centered on the wall, and on the table was a TV. So that's the only things in the room. The first night Nathan was at this new house was totally uneventful. The second night, not so much. He was up in the guest room, laying on the bed, watching TV, the lights are off, it's just the TV on, and at some point he dozes off. He wakes up a short time later and he can't move. It's the same sensation he had when he was staying with his mom at her apartment. And he begins to panic because the last time he felt this way, a strange veiled woman stood on his chest and made it feel like he was dying. And so immediately he's trying to move his body, he can't. And so using his eyes, he starts looking around the room, praying this woman is not in the room with him. And so he looks to the right, to that corner, which you can see, there's no one there. From this corner, he starts scanning across the room. He sees the TV, it's still on. He keeps scanning and he sees the door and it's open. And then he scans and he's able to just barely make out the space at the foot of the bed. He can actually see to the corner, and this woman, she's not in here. And so initially he feels incredibly relieved that she's not in the room with him. But then he finds himself focusing on the open door into the dark hallway. And he's thinking to himself, please, please do not come walking through that door. And so he stares at the open door, just hoping he breaks out of the sleep paralysis when he notices something about the TV. It's flickering. And so he averts his gaze to the TV and he realizes what he's looking at on TV does not look familiar. It does not look like a TV show. It looks like CCTV camera footage. Like it looks like a security camera footage. And he realizes the footage he's looking at is the inside of his mother's kitchen downstairs. He recognized the way it was laid out. That's his mother's house. That's downstairs. And he's staring at the footage thinking, why is this footage playing on the TV? And I don't think there's a camera down there. When he notices on the camera, the woman with the veil walks into the middle of the frame and she looks up at the camera right as the camera turns off. And then the room is completely dark. There's no more ambient light in the room. The hallway is dark and he's left paralyzed knowing this woman is downstairs in the kitchen. And as he's laying there, he hears her start running through the house. And it sounds like an animal is barreling into things as she's running through the bottom floor. And she stops at the foot of the stairs. And he's thinking to himself, I know where she's going. She's coming up to my room. And so as he's laying there, he feels his heart racing and he's staring at the open door. He knows she's gonna come flying up those stairs and she's gonna come through that door. And instead of running up the stairs, he hears her take one step, two steps. And as she's making her way up the stairs, he's just thinking, please break out of this trance, stop this paralysis, wake up, wake up. And then he sees her head emerge. And she turns to look at him from the stairs into the room. And once she sees it's him, she bolts around and starts charging into the room on all fours like an animal. At this point, Nathan lets out a primal scream. He is scared for his life as this woman is charging towards him and she stops dead in her tracks right in the middle of the room. She looks at him, turns around and crashes out of the room, charges downstairs, and then it's silent. As soon as she was downstairs, Nathan could sit up. Except it did not feel like the first time he had sleep paralysis at his mom's apartment when he sat up and he had the sensation of relief. You've woken up, you were asleep before, now you're awake. This time, it was like he was always awake, but now he can sit up. He did not have a sense of relief. In fact, he was worried she was still in the house. And as he's sitting up in bed, his mother comes running into the room. She looks disheveled, she's half asleep, and she's like, was that you? Were you running around the house? I could have sworn I heard someone running around the house. Was that you? Nathan's looking at her and he can't even process what he's been through, whether that was real, whether it was a dream, and he's trying to find the words to describe to his mom the dream he had. Like he can't process what's happening. And he just says, Mom, we have to check the house. We have to make sure no one's in the house. And so the two of them flip on every light upstairs. They're not even talking. At this point, it's survival mode. They turn on all the lights upstairs, and Nathan leads the way down. They're flicking on all the lights, and they manage to search the whole house, and there's no sign of a break-in. There's no one in their house. After the coast was clear, and they felt like they were not in immediate danger, they went into the kitchen to kind of talk about what just happened. And so Nathan's like, okay, Mom, I just got to tell you everything that I'm thinking right now. I can't really process what just happened. I think it was a bad dream, but I'm starting to think that it could be something else, or I'm just losing my mind. So a few months ago, I was sleeping in your guest room in your apartment, and I had an experience that I'm almost positive was sleep paralysis. You know, I was laying there, I couldn't move, and this figure was in the room, and they were standing on me. It was terrifying, but it sounded an awful lot like sleep paralysis. But then a couple months after that, I talked to my sister, and I told her about it, and she
because it's I don't know, it's kind of better 3D keys, 3D stuff that you can just go ahead and download, and it looks cool for your videos. Okay, so again, I'm not gonna be using Alex Hormozi. I'm gonna delete it. Sorry, Alex. I know you wanted to be on the video, but what I'm gonna use is Airbnb. Okay, because he says Airbnb. Let's
scale on Airbnb.
Okay, there we go. So we're gonna apply some animation as well.
Airbnb.
Okay, perfect. We're gonna keep this here, and as you can see, guys, so far we've been doing some good things. You've been able to animate text, animate video, use the cutout feature, put some text, or it can be. I use text here, but you can also, for example, I can drag and drop this one here, and I could use the Airbnb behind the subject as well. Okay, but I don't want to do that. I want to use it here above, and I want to use it here below. Now, I haven't mentioned that this vertical. What is this vertical black shadow? Okay, that I'm using. I'm gonna actually deactivate it. So I use this black shadow, this behind the subject as well. Okay, but I use text here, but you can also, for example, I can drag and drop this one here, and I could use the Airbnb behind the subject as well. Okay, but I don't want to do that. I want to use it here above, and I want to use it here below. Now, I haven't mentioned that this vertical